Hey folks, how you doing out there? Welcome to another Drink and a Wink info review. Tonight we're going to talk a little bit about, we're going to kind of launch some features on some different Irish whiskey distilleries. I don't know that I could be more on the nose today. Myself, along with the lovely Michelle, kind of did a free birthday, not mine, hers, dinner at the Green Post, which is now we live very close to that place. Michelle had a birthday there a couple of years ago, uh, and we decided since we're kind of busy on the date on the 8th, we just go out and have a dinner tonight, right? Just the two of us, right? That was fun, right?
Lovely.
And just talking about on the nose, I had a Guinness and then I had corned beef. So is that what I have? It's a corned beef sandwich, right? Yeah. So I couldn't be more Irish, and I'm not at all Irish. So there you go. So now we're gonna talk about some Irish whiskey. I think, like I said, we're already in March 5th, so I'm not going to get a whole lot of features before St. Patrick's Day. But we've kind of stayed away from Irish whiskey talk a whole lot because we didn't get we're in kind of I was focusing on bourbon and focusing on Scotch and all that kind of stuff, and Irish whiskey kind of fell by the wayside. The other thing is, we seem to have acquired a lot of Irish whiskey via gift in the last couple of years, and we're still, we've got green spot and yellow spot and all kinds of good stuff. So we just hadn't we didn't get a whole lot of, what am I trying to say? A whole bunch of new bottles. But I always find Irish whiskey fascinating. So the last couple weeks, I've been kind of getting back and opening up some of my old bottles and checking them out and going, oh, you know what? Yeah, we need to be back here. And so we're going to talk we're going to talk about some like right on the nose, ones that we all know, Irish whiskeys that we all know. But we're also going to try to do some things where maybe we have a bottle of, one of the more famous distilleries or well-known distilleries who might have a different, alternative or a different pick for that. And then finally, we will bring you some ones that maybe you don't know about a little bit more, okay? That's what we're going to do today. I think the only other real Irish whiskey that we've like recently had that was new was a while back when we bought that like taster pack of Redbreast. Remember that? That was a while back. But we bought that and we had the La Style edition and the 15-year-old and I think just the regular Redbreast. But I was kind of looking around and something caught my eye that another distillery, we have talked about it a little bit before, Kilbeggan, has released a new or an updated bottling called the Triple Cask. And I was looking around for it. I was getting some kind of good reviews. So we just got that a couple days ago. And we're going to talk about the Kilbeggan distillery, right? Okay. I guess before I get into that, let me say one more thing about Irish whiskey. Well, Irish whiskey is kind of, some might think it's a little bit I don't know if you want to say confusing, but like Scotch whiskey, you got blended Scotch, you've got single malt Scotch, right? And there are vatted or blended malts, but you're still really talking about either a blended malt that can use any kind of grain that you want, along with some malted barley usually, or you've got a single malt Scotch or a malted blend, which means you're using all kinds of malted barley. Got to be malted barley in all those, right? Bourbon has bourbon, and there's not that many different varieties other than the different brands and distilleries. The one thing that's interesting about Irish whiskey is there's 4 classifications. Now there are 4 classifications in other whiskey lines, but we talk about Irish whiskey. Kind of the bottom, or usually in the price tag, is just your blended Irish whiskey. And then you go up and you can start talking about single grain Irish whiskey. You can talk about single malt Irish whiskey, which is just following the same rules as Scotch. And that you're kind of nodding along. I'm live, right?
What?
You know I'm live, right? Like I was just telling you. I was like, yeah, I know you know. your input will come in later. And then finally, we have kind of the talk of Dublin, the single pot still Irish whiskey. All right. And what are all those different classifications? Well, we're going to talk about those first, just to refresh as we get into it. Blended Irish whiskey is the same as blended Scotch whiskey. It can be a variety of different grains, from corn to barley, rye, wheat. It could be a whole manner of things. A lot of times it's corn or something of that variety. Then you go up the next step. We said a single grain. That's going to be, not meaning just one type of grain, but a grain, a combination of grains that is from one distillery. This triple cask, as it turns out, is a single grain. We'll talk about that. Single malt Irish whiskey is the same as single malt Scotch whiskey in terms of it's just 100% single or 100% malted barley from one distiller in there. And then the kind of Irish tradition and kind of the standout, as it's really the only ones that are doing this, is they do single pot still Irish whiskey. Okay. The other thing that we will note is that some distilleries in Ireland use pot stills, some use column stills. Okay, just because something is made in a pot still, it doesn't mean that it's pot still Irish whiskey. When we talk about single pot still Irish whiskey, this is a tradition of taking malted barley and unmalted barley in equal amounts, and then making the distillate. Most of the time, it was just going to be those two grains, malted barley and unmalted barley. In the case of Kilbeggan, they do add this little acceptable level of oats into the mix to change the taste profile a little bit and makes enzymes work a little bit, blah, blah, science, who knows, okay? Yeah, science. So that's kind of, I'm using them to describe the different Irish whiskeys. So just kind of a refresher. The famous ones, Jameson, just regular black Bushmills, those are all blended Irish whiskeys. Tullamore Dew, some of start the bottom range as a blended Irish whiskey. You can get into the single malt sometimes pretty fast. The Sexton, I think, is still a single malt Irish whiskey. Has gone up in price, but that's what we got. Today we're going to talk about Kilbeggan. Okay, so in the world of Irish whiskey, redbreasts are king. Those are all single pot still Irish whiskeys. The Spots are well known. Jameson at the bottom. Kilbeggan kind of falls in the middle in a bunch of ways because they have offerings on both sides that are very interesting. The first thing to know about Kilbeggan is that the original distillery was founded in 1757. Now, they claim that their pot still Irish whiskey, or their pot still there at that distillery, is the oldest pot still that is in existence. Who knows? Like with a lot of Irish whiskey, starting in getting up to 1950 through the 70s and 80s, a lot of them fell on hard times, and a lot of them closed down or shuttered, for a while, and weren't doing any output. Kilbeggan was one of those. So even though it's been open, it did have a time of shutting down. And then this company called Cooley, who I don't think yet you will see any bottle that says Cooley on there, but Cooley came on and started buying some distilleries and producing for other distillery brands, and Kilbeggan is one of them. So the Cooley distillery is in part filling some of these bottles with the distillate. I do understand there is a working distillery at Kilbeggan, but I don't know all the points of it, but some of their distillate is probably coming from Cooley. Some of it is probably coming from on site. This company was also bought by Beam Suntory, or the whole Cooley was bought by Beam Suntory in 2012. And I'm just reading here in terms of who Cooley owns and Beam Suntory. In terms of Beam Suntory's Irish whiskey holdings, we're talking about Kilbeggan, Connemara, Tyrconnell, and the Two Ginger. So if you've seen those are all coming from essentially the same place, and they're all owned by Beam Suntory. The other thing to keep in mind with this is I'll tell you something else interesting. When we talk about these things, these distilleries, many of our favorite distilleries are owned by larger conglomerate company. There's very few just independent whiskeys, or I mean distilleries, depending where the country and all that. Here, when we're talking about this, there is one benefit to that, and that would be casks. So Kilbeggan had their regular blended Irish whiskey for a while. We had it. It's pretty good, basic whiskey. Then they also had their single pot still Irish whiskey, which was which is a little hard to find because it's a limited edition, but well worth it and well worth checking out. I also noticed on the label that actually the distilling company is imported. Kilbeggan makes its way through Chicago, I guess, before anywhere else in the States. That's where the Kilbeggan importing company is. So that might be because, I don't know, the Beam Suntory holding is here in Chicago, but that's interesting. Anyway, so when these companies are purchased by these larger holding companies like a Beam Suntory, there are some benefits. And one of them will be the ease of cask finding. So all of these whiskeys has to be aged in casks. Where are you going to get casks? Well, if you want to, just cast your stuff in European oak, that's fine. But that actually isn't kind of the preferred method of aging European whiskey. Okay, or for lack of a better term, British Isles and Northern Ireland whiskey. How could I explain it? Let's say I want to age some whiskey and I want to age it in different ways. Well, I'll get some bourbon casks from a company that I might know, and if my parent company is Jim Beam Company, well, then I can get some really pretty good bourbon casks. I might get sherry casks if my parent company also has their foot in that, or if a parent company has their foot in making a rum of some sort, or at least is distributing a rum, then they can get rum casks. So there are some benefits. Anyway, this kind of the second tier in the Kilbeggan line used to be their single grain, and what that means is that it's a it's a grain whiskey, but it's still one distillery, and there's some other rules about that. Okay, this from what I was listening to, this just triple grain, which is their new release, is really just a repackaging and reimagination of their old single grain. Okay, I heard that today from a distillery manager I was watching an interview on. So what they did here, though, is they have triple casked it, meaning they've aged it. In some casks have been aged for just 3-4 years. They said there are some 15 to 16-year-old whiskey in here too. So this is a blend of whiskey aged in ex-bourbon barrels. Okay, so probably Jim Beam bourbon ex-barrels. Virgin American oak, meaning just brand new oak barrels from America, and then PX Sherry or Pedro Jimenez sherry casks. So that's the triple casking on this. Tasting notes on this. The other thing is I know that the mash bill is almost totally corn on this one. Okay, and the final fascinating thing we're going to talk about here is Kilbeggan. You see the names, you see the whatever. They look almost exactly the same. How am I going to tell the difference? There is no way. Did you have a sip of the new one yet? There is no way you could get these confused, because this one, this right here that I'm pointing to, the triple cask, is what? It smells good, right? But the triple cask is almost all a mash bill of almost all corn. Okay, they didn't even really tell you what else it is. The single pot still Irish whiskey is going to be equal parts malted barley, unmalted barley, and then 2.5% oats to round that out. Completely different from what you had last night, right? Okay. Triple cask, which is the one we're kind of featuring, because we've talked about this one before. Other things to note on this, nice enough, very pale color. And especially if some of this has been aged in sherry, I'm kind of hoping, it doesn't say it on the bottle, but when we give some grace that if they did add any color into it, there is not much. So we got to give them that. Kilbeggan also produces a rye, which we maybe will try sometime because we like ryes. This one, which is again very corn, you can very much tell it is a corn whiskey. There's a sweetness, but it's not the same kind of sweetness that you get from. I wouldn't describe this as breakfast sugars, but there's a little pepperiness to it. It's definitely oak, but it seems like the ex-bourbon, and especially what I'm guessing would be the sherry cask, is giving it a little bit of a driftwood oak kind of flavor versus fresh oak. It's crisp and clean, a little bit of apple. It's slightly fruity, but that's kind of me pushing it. Really more kind of, I don't want to say tart fruit flavors. I want to say like banana peel, not very fresh, kind of green banana flavor in there, but with a lot of earthiness and heather and kind of, yeah, a lot of that kind of, I don't want to say herbal, just earthy, maybe just a hint of a minty flavor, spearmint flavor. It's really tasty. Points to this that I really like about this. Hey, if you're a bourbon fan, this might be the way to go if you're trying to check it out. Price-wise, this is running at $30. It's also bottled at 43%. Okay, a lot of the other bottlings in this offering might hover around there. 43%, it's nice. With that, it has enough little interest and complexity. I really like this one. This one could go down real fast, but it's not a sweet. I'm not saying, I'm not using words like biscuits or creme brulee or anything like that you might get in some other Irish whiskey. This is blended Irish whiskey that's made, really a lot of corn on this Kilbeggan triple cask. Yeah, there's a little pepperiness to it, a little bit of clove. It's very tasty. Finish is short. Does kind of move away fast. But I'm going to say, if you're looking at other whiskeys in this price tag, what it's going to be in the $30 price tag in Irish whiskey, Sexton will be a little bit more. Maybe Powers. This is well worth it, and I could really see this being nice if you're making anything with like ginger beer as a combination, because it's not overly sweet and it's not so expensive that you would not want to blend it. So this is the Kilbeggan triple cask at 43%. Really nice product. I'm glad I bought this. Don't know if I would buy it at this price tag. If I would see it on sale, maybe I'd replace it. But if you see it in the $27 to $30 range, I got it on sale. But if you can do that, really dig it. Let's talk about the pot still Irish whiskey. Now, again, as I had mentioned, we have 5, 6 Teeling single pot still. We got two. We got a yellow spot. We got a green spot. We got redbreast. We've got got a Glendalough. We've got. I think I said Teeling already, and yeah, those are all single pot still Irish whiskeys. Right now in this country, Redbreast is kind of the king in terms of just pure sales at a single pot still Irish whiskey. Maybe Green Spot and Yellow Spots, although getting expensive, and the other Spot series, Red and Yellow? No, Red and... I can't remember what the other one is. Blue? Yeah, Blue. We don't have those. Are a big hit. What is indifferent about this one? On the nose, completely different nose. From their other Kilbeggan, the triple cask. The first thing I get is honey, a little bit creme brulee, biscuity, a little bit of caramel, a little bit of toffee, breakfast spices. What's the sugar on top of like tiramisu? Just brown sugar?
No, normally it's either espresso or cocoa.
Okay. A little bit of that. Yeah, sorry. Am I saying anything wrong about this whiskey yet?
No, I mean, I don't know if I have cocoa powder. Maybe. No. That's a cocoa powder.
Okay.
Yeah,
On the taste, this is just honey and vanilla, and it's really tasty. It's a little weightier. You like it, right?
I love it.
Okay, good. I would say it's there are some flavors that are comparable to Redbreast in that crisp and wafery, kind of a little bit of like that, almost like gum, like bubble gum, little zing that Redbreast has. But this feels a little heavier actually, and a little more in that caramel area and that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
There is some oak flavor here.
Mm-hmm.
This one is bottled at 43% as well. Double distilled. I wonder if this is triple distilled. It says triple distilled or double distilled. Drinking three different cask strengths. This doesn't say anything about how many times it's distilled. I don't see. So that's another thing. A lot of Irish whiskeys will have on there triple distilled. That's just the process they use. I mean, that does also mean that it's getting. They're trying to get like a cleaner, more mellow, more, yeah, just more clean, less meaty kind of vibe. This is kind of meaty to me, Kilbeggan. I don't know if it's the oats in the mash bill or what exactly it is, but it's just a little heavier than some of the other single pot stills that I have, and I really like it. Yeah, so it's a little tour of Kilbeggan. They're just regular, which I'm guessing is probably a lot of corn too. They're just regular Kilbeggan blended Irish whiskey. It is tasty. We used to have one. This would be our third bottle of Kilbeggan. But we drank it. I mean, I drank it down after a while. It was just a good alternative to Jameson, and that like I said, this triple cask, I would say, kind of comes close to the lower, the core range powers. I can't remember what they call it, just if it's whatever the main powers is. Yeah, I dig it, right?
Mm-hmm.
That was another one we had. We had Powers John's. No, we didn't have John's Lane. We had Powers Three Swallows. Maybe this reminds me a little bit of that. I don't know if you probably even remember that, but that really took the copper notes from the copper still that was aged in. This is just very unique. This Kilbeggan single pot still Irish whiskey. Both of these are dangerous in that you can go through these real fast. That right?
Yeah.
This Kilbeggan is like it is. I don't like to use the word smooth. Let's just say it's not. It's complex, but it's not overly challenging. Meaning, there's nothing there to slow you down. Governors are not on this one, if you can find it. Okay, I sound like Nancy Pelosi talking about the Republic. If you can keep it. I never knew what the hell she was talking about anyway. Obviously, we don't want to keep it, but if you can find this, buy it at all costs. Okay, I mean, don't pay over a huge price tag for it, but it's going to be hard to find. I will. If you are a fan of single pot still Irish whiskey, this is a good one. And compared to how the prices have gone up and up and up, and everywhere across the board, if you can find this at like retail price, 40 some in that range, okay, maybe 50. This is actually going to be a steal, and this is just as good as any other single pot still Irish whiskey in the price range, and it holds. Like I said, I really like this. I've always rated this Kilbeggan single pot still high. I'm going to give it an 8.5 right now. That's a pretty high rating for me. 8.6. 8.6. I really like that. The Kilbeggan triple grain, the new one, or triple cask, I keep on saying that, is our newest bottle, and I'm not going to rate it that high, but for the price range, I really like it. It has a unique flavor, and like this is more. How can I explain this? This is more. This will be nice spring whiskey. Is that it's lighter and a little more like 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 spring whiskey, when you think of like everything's blossoming and all that, this is like right perfect for this time, right? Where stuffing isn't blossoming and everything looks kind of like dark gray and all this. This Kilbeggan you had last night really fills the bill on that. To me, there's just a little bit of greenish muskiness and earthiness. It's really nice. I'll definitely say to wrap this up is that in the Irish whiskey world, uh, you can find a bunch that are 25, 26, 20, in that range and under. And then you can find plenty that are $40 or more, up into the 70s. And now Redbreast and spots are getting close to 100 or more, if they're kind of specially aged. Finding something in the middle range is always tough, right? Okay, especially with Irish whiskey. I say this is a real nice one. I'm going to give this an might be going a little high on it. I mean, if I sat with it for a while, maybe I would kind of go, okay, maybe not. But I'm going to give it an 8.2, telling people that if you like the flavors of getting a little bit of that graininess, but in Jameson that can get a little hot. Try this. The addition of the sherry cask aging, or this blend of what they've made there, takes a little bit of that away. This is a really interesting treat, and nobody would be disappointed by drinking this if you gave them this bottle instead of Jameson or maybe even Tullamore Dew. Don't see this being my choice for a Irish coffee, but maybe a choice for some kind of mixture with ginger beer or those kinds of things. All right, I'm gonna get done here. We ate. We I got all my Irish chops out today, right? All right. Anyway, Michelle's coming up. We'll see. Who knows? Maybe we'll find another Irish whiskey coming along our way. Well, her way, but she's always nice. Lets me have it. What? I don't know what I'm saying. Let me have it. See ya. What are we going to talk about next? We talked about this. What do you want to talk about? Maybe you'll be on the next one. We haven't talked about the spots in a while. I think we've only talked about them once. Maybe we'll talk to the spots, and what we do is maybe we'll talk about two brands. Let's maybe do maybe we'll do the spot, and then we'll do one of the Teeling single malt, single grain.
Okay.
Anyway, we'll see. No, what am I trying to say? The Teeling single pot still, and the and green spot. Maybe we'll do that. Those are two kind of that would be good to pair together. See you, folks. Cilantro. Still can't really pull that off.